Friday has come again, my friends, and you know what that means. Young Justice has given me more content to scream into the void about. And normally, I'd be coming to the void with jubilant screams of fanboyness and how incredible my Dicky Bird is. But this week's gonna be a little bit different. These are gonna be screams of why are you like this, DC? Ain't that just like DC, though? They have a great idea, they're executing it well, everything's starting to come together, and then what do? They have too much ambition, too many things start floating together, and the way they're releasing the episodes, it's just getting convoluted at this point. I thought we were past this, guys. I thought we were past trying to put too many things together at once, not focusing on story points that you had to. I thought we were just doing streamlined stories now. I thought we were giving the fans what they want. The real question at this point is, what do you want, DC? What are you trying to convey to us? Because I'm honestly not sure anymore. At first, you were trying to connect all these new dots, and it was going to be all about the Markovians and Halo and their new thing, and it was going to be incredible. Then you decided, well, what if we do all these things with Red Arrow and all these old characters and how they're dealing with each other and all these interactions? Great. Now we're going to try and bring everything in from all 3 seasons and just hope that it sticks together well? I don't know, man. Just the way you're releasing your videos 3 episodes at a time, it's kind of jarring, and it's really messing me up at this point in terms of trying to figure out where it is you want to go. Now let me go into this with just a generic spoiler warning. There's not going to be anything wild and drastically game-changing that I'm going to let you know. You don't have to worry about that. However, I might let a few things slip out about character interactions, and that just seems to be the way that the rest of these videos are going to come out every week. So just kind of know that going into it, you've been warned. Sure, the characters and where they're going, their arcs, are evolving as these episodes and these sets of episodes are coming out. Their interactions with each other are also evolving. That's phenomenal. That's great job. Excellent storytelling. You know what the problem is? The plot isn't cohesive throughout the 3 sets. And that wouldn't be such a big deal if this was coming out all at once. If it was an entire show, or an entire season of a show, I should say, that I was going to binge and get through, then it would make sense. I'd be able to piece them all together. But when it's doing a week at a time, you're left for the rest of the week thinking, okay, well, what's the next set going to be like? How's it going to build on this? And so far, it really hasn't. They've almost been self-contained mini-arcs. Even mini-arcs in and of themselves wouldn't be a bad thing. It's been a long time since people have seen this show. No one's going to mind a little bit of an episodic nature to get back into the swing of things. When you have a story going for that long, and with such a long hiatus in between the seasons, specifically the second and the third, people are going to forget things. I know that the show came out again, being seasons 1 and 2 were available to be binged, and that's great. And, you know, if you really wanted to, I'm sure you could piece it together and have a full idea of what's going on. But for me, somebody that was really into the show but did not binge the first 2 seasons again before starting the third, it's a little bit weird to see Vandal Savage again, and him and the light and everything that they're doing. They're fine, but they're ultimately disappointing when there's nothing to build off so far. I legitimately need the whole Vandal Savage plot to start taking over as the new team has to deal with that, or I need it to focus more on the things like, how's Will Harper's daddy daycare doing? How are all the characters loving each other? You know, Superboy's kind of a dad now in a mentor way. Dick's a dad. Will's a dad. Everyone's just a dad. So either focus on the dad arc, which would be great, and have them take on a new villain and build up to Vandal Savage for next season, or you're going to have to leave a lot of that stuff in the wake, and you're going to have to focus on the big bad now. You cannot have it both ways if you want the show to succeed after such an extended death. Now, that's not to say that Vandal Savage isn't a good villain. He's a great villain. And if anything, Season 3 Vandal Savage so far has been way more intriguing for me personally than he was at any other point during the show. So I'm actually more happy to see him than I honestly expected to be when it was announced that he was going to be continuing as the main villain thus far. And that's not even to say that I don't like these episodes. I've actually thoroughly enjoyed them, even these last 3 that just came out, and it's really about the cohesion of them, or the lack thereof. It feels like the first 3 episodes and these latest 3 episodes were written by the same person, and it feels like the 3 episodes in the middle were written by a different person, almost kind of like what Star Wars is going through right now, where you could tell that The Last Jedi was not the next logical jumping point from where The Force Awakens left off, but that's just kind of where we're at now. And that's really how Young Justice seems to be building. I hope that they don't keep on alternating between plot-oriented, character-oriented, plot-oriented, character-oriented for the rest of the season, because it's sort of hard to keep up with because of the 3 episode nature. There's a lot to take in at once. And so when there's a bunch of plot that's thrown at you, and then the week later, a bunch of character interactions thrown at you and the plot's not really messed with, it doesn't really progress, you start to forget some of those more minor plot points. And you're certainly not thinking about plot points that might become a factor from previous seasons. So when those plot points come back in as the main focus of the new set, it's just weird. I don't know why anybody would think that that would be the ideal or optimal way to tell their story, even if the story itself is good. But let's be honest, this early in the season, nobody's here for plot. We're all here for the same thing. Forager. Or, character development. We're all here for character development and, how the hive interacts with other members of the hive. Oh, it is really Forager that's holding this together right now, isn't it? I love that little guy. I would watch an entire show that's just called Forager. He's the best. He's comedic. He's a little bit badass. He's the heart and soul of his new team with the Outsiders. And that's kind of one of the problems with this set. The Outsiders are doing great right now. They're super interesting, and what they're doing is great. And it's awesome to see Dick trying to be a mentor again, and how Superboy's dealing with Brienne, and all the parallels that are coming back, like I talked about in my previous video. I'll link in the description. But that becomes problematic when you flash back to the Season 2 team, or at least part of them that are being led by Tim Drake right now, because, yeah, last week I was really kind of upset that they weren't giving them their due. That team had earned their spotlight. But now, because the Outsiders are so interesting to watch, I don't care about Tim's team anymore, especially because most of them are still new characters. You've got Spoiler now, and you've got Arrowette, and all these other people that you don't know, and you don't know their motivations in the context of the show specifically, or why they're there. And then Batman's got his own team, and that's separate from the team, and that's separate from the Justice League. Do you see where I'm going with this? Do you see how there's too many spoons in the pot going on right now? What I'm getting at is you can't have it both ways. You can't fanboy and have all these characters in your crossover, and also have a plot that's going to be streamlined. And it feels like they want to do both. It feels like they want to jump from all of these great character interactions, like watching Will Harper be a dad in that adorable scene that I'm not going to go into because I'm sure somebody hasn't watched it yet. Why are you even still watching this video if that's the case? It doesn't matter. But you can't go from that back into the plot full tilt and act like nobody's going to be weirded out by that. That's an odd thing to do. The reason why a convoluted crossover event works in comics is because you only just get a snippet of things as weeks go on. There's enough content to keep you excited, and then there's a cliffhanger. And then at that cliffhanger, it brings you into the next issue, which might come out in a different book the same week, maybe it comes out a different week, next month, whatever. But the point is, it gives you that little snippet. When you get 3 episodes worth of content, there's a lot to take in. It's like if you got 7 issues of a run, but it's a 50-issue run. You can't get so many issues of a run and then have half of a cliffhanger because you're thinking, oh, well, it's just going to feed into next week's thing. That's a lazy way of distributing your product. And then Lobo just shows up for no reason. He's not really connected to the big plot. He's not really connected to the fan service they've just been going with. They're kind of like, oh man, people like Lobo, let's throw him in there. And it's disconjointed, and it's cool to see him. I love Lobo. He's really interesting, you know? They didn't have Aquaman in the show in the traditional Arthur Curry sense, so they had to get Jason Momoa's others look-alike in the form of Lobo and send him to go beat on all these people. Because you think of Lobo, and you can't lie, you think of Jason Momoa just a little bit, and that's exactly what they want. But therein lies the main problem. It doesn't have anything to do with anything. It's not advancing anything, and it's not building on things that came from the last season. Tim's team is doing their thing, and they're getting some development. Awesome. I don't care. Bring me back to the Outsiders, which the season's named after. Bring me back to Forager, who is my son now. Bring me back to Brienne and Violet, who are the ship of the summer, or winter, I guess. Whatever, man, you don't get to choose when my summers are. I feel like the show knows exactly who their star players are. They know who the fans are attached to. You've got Superboy and Nightwing and Artemis, and you can just run with them and their new team, who are getting a pretty good hold because Forager's so incredible. And you could build the whole show around them and what they're doing. And that's what it should be. But they want so badly to please everybody, and then what it's going to do is it's going to divide some people. And I don't mean to hate on it. Again, it's really good and interesting, and I can't wait to see, because I'm sure they're going to piece it all together right around episode 19. But this isn't episode 19, this is episode 9. And when they're going to take such a big gap in the middle and try and finish it months from now, why come back? This is going to have to be one hell of a cliffhanger to try and bring everything together, because it's either going to not matter for half the characters that they're building up from scratch, essentially, or it's not going to matter to the established characters. And it has to matter to the established characters. So if it doesn't matter to that first set, like I mentioned, if it doesn't matter to Tim and Orphan and all of them, then there's no point for them being in this part of the season other than as just, little decorations in the back to let the stars shine. But enough hate. There was good things to like about this episode, and it was a bunch of character interactions. And you know what I'm talking about? Cheshire. I'm just kidding. Cheshire's part was fucking awful. She just came off as a bad mother, and I'm really upset what they're doing with the character. I'm upset how they're doing Will Harper outside of that moment when he was hanging out with all the wives. That was incredible. They need to focus more on that type of thing. The Arrow family's doing great. The Flash family's doing great. And I don't even mean the family like, oh, Barry and Bart and Wally and all of these guys. I mean straight up the family, the people you never get to see, the people who have to deal with being the loved ones of superheroes. It's kind of neat to see that they've got their own little club and that they're hanging out together, and they can relate to each other on a level that nobody else in the world can understand, least of all the superheroes that they are close to, because they don't know what it's like to have to worry and wonder about all these things and deal with such an eccentric personality in such close proximity to them. Let's begin with Dick, because that's what everybody likes about the show. He's doing great, he's doing his dad thing, he's doing his mentor thing, and he's being able to teach through experience in a way that resembles Batman greatly, but it's more of that lateral step towards Superman where it's not as dark and heinous. There's still hope that he's putting into his young companions, which is incredible. He needs to keep that up. Superboy's much the same way. He's on kind of the same arc as Dick right now, but he has his direct one-to-one parallel in Brion, and Brion is going through an accelerated version of what Superboy went through. He's learning to control himself. He's learning to keep his emotions in check. And while he has to deal with all his side plot about Markovia, that's an issue for later on. That's an issue for another video. It's good to see his heart opening up to people like Violet. He's becoming friendly with Forager. He's learning to take in this new family while he's searching for the loved ones that he left behind, or who in some cases left him behind. So it's really cool to see where he's going as well. Halo died again and then didn't. Man, I wish it wasn't so obvious that she's just gonna die and not come back eventually for shock value. Cool. And then Miss Martian had this irrelevant side plot where Skip, the Bat family, had some interactions with some kiddie pool debt. So that was pretty neat. It wasn't nearly what I wanted. They need their own show, like I've been saying. If DC wants to start their own universe, it needs to be an animated one because they've already got all the pieces. But, it was still nice to see them all. Calder showed up again in this set, which is super neat. He's still not doing a whole lot. He's doing a lot of PR stuff. It's still not entirely clear why he's Aquaman, so great. But my man Forager, he's so Forager, isn't he? He's just going around being a bug. Now he's naked. Now he's not. Oh, it's incredible. I don't know who came up with this concept for a character. I mean, obviously he was already a character, but to utilize him in this way and to make him almost the mascot for the show, as well as the emotional crush that everyone's going to be leaning on, probably from here on out. It's phenomenal. He is what the show needs. He's a little shot in the arm because it's taking itself so seriously half the time, and it's taking itself so not seriously half the time, that you need to have somebody that can go from one to the other, and he's good at that. He has a ridiculous backstory where it's one of the darkest plots that he has. He's talking about being ruled over by people and being an oppressed minority on his planet, or I guess an oppressed majority on his planet by the more powerful minority, and it's like, that sounds super dark. How can I follow a character like that? And then he just likes to eat apples, and he wants to be your friend and shake your hands and throw pocket sand at you like King of the Hill. That's the character that we need to be focusing on. I don't care about Tim anymore. I don't care about Batman and his side plot. I want to see the Outsiders, and I want to see them moving forward. And then later on, we can bring everyone else into the fold slowly, or give them their own shows that tie in to some sort of ultimate crossover event, like with what the CW is doing, except for instead, we make it really good. And you think that with so much venting that I had to get out, that I've probably just been ragging on the show because I didn't have a good time. But it's honestly one of the things I look forward to most in the week. It's like, what's going to happen? Is Forager going to gender the bioship? Is Vandal Savage going to crush somebody's skull under his boot? Who knows, man? The show's just a grab bag, and it's pretty entertaining, even if it is unfocused. As somebody that's wildly unfocused, I get it, man. I get having all these ideas and not knowing how to prioritize them. But you're getting paid for it and I'm not, so, pull it together, man. It's interesting to see what they're going to do next. I'm really excited for it and I can't wait to make another video for it. I think I'm kind of hooked on coming out with videos as these episodes are coming out right now. So when you need more Young Justice content, know that I'm just going to be coming with it for you. And sometimes it's going to be a rant like this, and sometimes it's just going to be me praising it like a fanboy, because I guess that's just the way being an upset, entitled fanboy is, and I'm sure a bunch of you can relate to that. So if you like what you've seen here, go ahead, throw me a like, maybe a subscribe. You could even comment below, tell me if you agree or if you even disagree, because if there's somebody that can come up with a great point as to what they're going for right now, I would love to hear it. I would love to have that conversation with you. And until next time, y'all stay beautiful.